Neil, the policies. The policy tonight, I think that's of the most relevant is 8450.11, protective facial coverings during pandemic events. I want you to know that you currently have that policy. You approved it in May of 2021. You're looking at some revisions that Dan McIntyre recommends, for example. One is that instead of it saying 6 feet, it says 3 feet in the social distancing, which is more in compliance with what's going on right now. It also speaks clearly that the superintendent will consult with the Board of Education when making changes to the planning of the policy. So if I were going to make a change to eliminate masks, to add masks, or I would consult with the Board of Education. It gives the Board of Education opportunity to give me input. I think that's a reasonable position to take. And the changes that I shared with you last Friday in the board briefing do reflect really just fundamental changes that Dan thought were really important. Not very many changes to the policy. The 3 feet from the 6 feet is one big change. And the other thing I added was that the superintendent worked in consultation with the board in making these recommendations. And with that, we did send out guidance. You know, obviously, we sent out last week our back to school guide, and I thought it was needed because, you know, obviously parents wanted to know what we're going to do. And I wanted to make sure that we got that out. Certainly not tomorrow when school starts on Tuesday. I wanted to get it out as far as we could. Circumstances continue to change. Districts continue to do different things around us. And I'm planning on continuing to look at data. I'm working hard to have a strong connection with the Cleveland Clinic on helping me interpret and analyze data. I've shared before that I do not have standing in the medical community, and their guidance, the Cleveland Clinic and others, is really helpful. And I can assure you that not everybody's in agreement with the approach that I've suggested to the board, which is part of the district is masking, part of it is not. I can also tell you that as all this started off, I think I, along with many, wanted to start the year without masks and be without masks. And, you know, I think we all saw the governor and the director of the Department of Health. I haven't changed the position for the district, and I'm not planning on it. When you look at the data, we look at how things progress and how they go, and we consult with professionals. And then, you know, if a change is needed, I'll communicate that to the board and communicate it to our parents. And trying to get us to the point where, you know, masking is a parental choice. That's ultimately what we're going to get to. But I have to look at the data that's in front of me. It's sort of like last year when we were open, we were closed, we were in hybrid, and then finally we got to January, I think it was 26th, and we said we're going to open, and we did. And we stayed open, and we were successful. We had problems. I mean, I'm not saying to suggest that we didn't have COVID, we didn't have quarantine and all those things. But I am suggesting that we were successful, and I think our kids and our staff did a great job. And I expect that to be the case again this year. I know that I have received, you've received many emails of support for masking K-12, support for the plan that we have in place, as well as support for no masking. So I've heard from many, many different people. Certainly appreciate their input. We are doing what we believe is in the best interest of the district with the primary goal of keeping it open. And the way not to have kids in quarantine is if they're vaccinated or masked, if they're a close contact. If they're a close contact and they're not vaccinated or they're not masked, they're going to have to quarantine for 7 days if they have a negative test after 5, or if they are positive or don't take the test, they'll have to quarantine for 10 days. And we're going to be treating it as a long-term absence, a planned absence, and our teachers will work with their students. And we certainly hope that we don't get to anywhere that we were last year with numbers of quarantine. If you remember last year, we were well in the hundreds of quarantine, so we certainly don't want to get to that level. And we'll take action to avoid it if we have to. Okay. Please.
So this is that's not what. So what we are voting on for number 7 is the resolution here that we were just discussing, but this does not specifically say to which grades this applies. So when is that? How does this differ?
signs of elevated communicable diseases, community spread, and for other health and safety reasons, the superintendent, in consultation with the board, may activate this policy by notifying the school community that some or all students to wear a mask unless they're unable to do so for various health reasons. So what this policy does is clarify that we could have some or all students wearing masks.
Thank you.
And that's it.
So I just wanted to come before you all today and share my gratitude on behalf of my family and my neighbors. We come here week after week and we bring our complaints and our problems and our questions and our concerns, and you all hear us, maybe like a therapist that we might need, I don't know. But, you know, I just think about looking at you all and how many years you have given as public servants, many of you decades, and just feeling appreciative for you all and the work that you do. It seems like when we read and listen to what decisions you're making, the guidepost is always what's best for our kids, what's going to keep them safest and healthiest and growing in the best way. So I hope that you can hear the echoes of that gratitude and just keep that with you. And thank you for all that you all do every day, all the minutiae that we don't even understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. You can speak again if you'd like. Would you like to give another 2 minutes? Thank you. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Next we have Oren Ganner. Am I saying that correct? Owen. Okay, Owen, I apologize.
No worries. My name is Owen Gaynor, and I'm a junior at the Rocky River High School. I want to speak briefly today on 2 issues, the importance of diversity education and the importance of teaching true history, even if it is difficult. As you know, diversity education allows staff and students to be more aware of the different people in their communities and teaches them about the unconscious biases they may have. The primary criticisms I've heard against diversity education are that it should fall to the parents to teach their kids about these concepts, or that it may be confusing to children. However, from my experience, there's a culture of intolerance towards people, ideas, and cultures right here in Rocky River. As I'm sure many of you are aware, I organized a peaceful protest last fall. After posting a reminder online, I and other participants were ostracized by our classmates, called slurs, and given threatening looks. Some of my classmates were willing to say these horrible things, even with their names attached. I still have a record of all of this. Much of the same feelings were expressed by the adult community members to students. This is a clear indication of the need for continued and even expanded diversity education for students. I also have an example of the importance of diversity education from a staff perspective. A few years ago, there was a substitute in class. He yelled at me to get out of my seat because Owen isn't a girl's name and you have long hair. This became a discussion where I needed to defend myself about my own gender expression. During my middle school years, this particular substitute continued to call me she, and I repeatedly informed him otherwise. Now think for a moment about the student who wouldn't have had the courage to correct a teacher. That's why we need diversity education. Going back to what I said earlier about being a parent's role to teach their kids, I could not agree more. But when a culture of intolerance arises from a young age, it is clear that an informed, accurate diversity curriculum is needed if parents are not doing their jobs. Now to my second point. I cannot express how important teaching hard history is. It provides context to past and current events and allows students to think critically about this country and its past. This is of the utmost importance to develop as a nation and not repeat mistakes of the past.
I'm sorry, Owen, I have to cut you off, although you're very interesting to listen to. Thank you.
Thank you.
We might have to hold you all to 2 minutes, but Owen, you can always come back next meeting and I'll hear the end of that. Okay, thank you. Let's see, we have Aiden Carter. Did I get that one right or not? Welcome, Aiden.
Hello. My name is Aiden Carter. I'm a senior at Rocky River High School this year. I want to speak about how we're going to implement masks this year and request. Most masks, if you didn't know, are ineffective against COVID-19. The only mask that could possibly protect against it is the N95 with a proper fit test. Other masks have their flaws, such as their pores or the holes within the mask are far too large to suppress the COVID-19 particles. The average size of a COVID-19 particle is 0.73 microns. And the size of a hole or pore in a normal cloth mask is between 5 and 200 microns, which would mean that all the pores in a normal cloth mask would be far too large to even come close to stopping a COVID particle. When it comes to surgical masks, they have holes that are between 0.3 and 10 microns. This would mean that some of the pores and holes in a surgical mask would stop a COVID-19 particle, but not all of them. Only less than 5% of those pores would. And the final reason why I think masks are ineffective is because not only can the COVID-19 particles infect you through your mouth, but it is starting to be learned that it can be infected through you by your eyes. So masks don't even come close to covering the eyes. That is my final reason. Alrighty. Thank you.
Thank you. Next over is Stephen Harry. Stephen, thank you for coming.
Thank you. Greetings, esteemed board members and Dr. Show. Thank you for steering through a tremendously difficult year last year with great aplomb. The decisions you had to make as the COVID-19 pandemic ebbed and flowed were complex to say the least. Thank you for allowing a hybrid option last year and for encouraging students to return to school for the fourth quarter with masks based on the scientific studies and guidance. As we start the 2021-2022 school year, I encourage you to continue to exercise sound decision making. I was pleased to see that the school board is following the CDC guidelines in requiring masks to be worn on the transportation school buses based on the email from Ms. Erin Peacock. I encourage you to also follow the CDC guidelines for in-person learning and require masks to be worn by all people regardless of vaccination status. To follow one and not the other seems inconsistent. In addition to the CDC having these guidelines, the Ohio Department of Health posted similar guidelines. The Cuyahoga County Board of Health is also recommending masking indoors for K through 12 regardless of vaccination status, and the American Academy of Pediatrics posted their similar recommendations. Rocky River provides an amazing scientific curriculum to the students. I trust the board will reconsider the current position and require masks in schools based on the strong recommendations and guidance from the top scientific minds in the country. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dr. Isn't the bus thing, it's a federal mandate, isn't it?
The bus is a mandate, the other is a recommendation. Your approval.
Next we have Sonia. Welcome, Sonia.
At the beginning of the COVID outbreak, I must have been most fearful of the virus, the unknown. Now that 17 months have passed, post-shutdown, I've been able to do my own research that's helped me feel less fearful than the beginning. Yes, we've seen people become infected, die, while a vast majority have survived and developed antibodies. When Dr. Shope made the decision to go remote, we knew very little. His goal, as I understood, was to keep the staff and students safe. Before the 2020-21 school year started, a new HVAC system was installed, hand sanitizers were placed throughout all the buildings, and plexiglass barriers as well. Since March of 2021, with a rolling time frame, those who wanted to get the shot were able to. Dr. Shope even shut down the schools twice to allow the staff to get it if they so chose to. Many will argue that those without the shot are putting those with it at risk. Cleveland Clinic, as you mentioned, will be following their guidelines. We respect them highly, came out with a statement from a study they conducted. Quote, study finds that natural COVID immunity is better than fully vaccinated. Fully vaccinated are still getting COVID and other adverse reactions. No one's mentioning this. 1,171,557 people have tested positive in Ohio as of today, 2 p.m. for the Ohio State COVID dashboard. 1,106,22 have recovered, meaning the death rate was less than 1%, 0.94. Please look at Ohio hospitalization capacity versus what you hear in the media, because that scares me. I looked at the numbers. How many emails were sent out last year from you stating another student or person tested positive? They have natural immunity. What I'm going to present now is evidence that some might, others might not be aware of. Masks lack evidence, science, common sense, data, and basic human decency. COVID poses almost no risk to children. Over 4.2 million nationwide have gotten COVID, whereas only 0.008 have died. In the state of Ohio, in the 17 months from 0 to 7, according to the Ohio State COVID dashboard, 7 children have died.
Thank you. That's 2 minutes. Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you. The next one. The next speaker tonight, Larry, tell me your last name.
Robot.
You're welcome.
You'll get it one time. Hello. I agree with Abe and Sonia. I'm aware the board has been provided with multiple articles, studies, and links to documents, many of which are peer-reviewed, that provide science-based evidence that masks do not prevent the spread of viruses such as COVID, and instead are more likely to cause physical harm. I urge you to review this valuable information carefully that you've received. The CDC, Dr. Fauci, the media, nor the current administration have publicly released a peer-reviewed empirical study on the efficacy of masks. Ask yourself why. Masks should be a choice. Neither you nor any other public officials that are elected should issue authoritarian mandates impacting students regardless of the grade and their status in the school system. I am firmly against any mandates for masks. Parents and students in this system are entitled to freedom of choice, and that is as it should be. And they should have that choice without any disparate treatment within the system. The pandemic does not suspend God-given liberties and that freedom of choice. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we welcome Jerry Burnham to the microphone.
I'm not used to speaking in public, so my name is Jerry Burnham, and I am against the use of the masks. You need to ask yourself, if masks really work, why haven't we worn them during the regular flu and cold season? It's because they don't. Even when I worked in ICU, because I'm a nurse, I only wore a mask during any procedures where there could be like exposures to blood and body fluids. Masks only protect against the big droplets, not against the viruses, and are considered soiled and dirty after 20 minutes of wear. Viruses are smaller than the weave in the mask and can get through. Even the mask boxes state we do not stop the spread of coronavirus, and that's like any virus. That's your rhinovirus, which is your cold virus, that's your adenovirus, that's the influenza. They're all flus, they're all cold viruses. Prolonged wear of a mask can cause hypoxia, which is decreased oxygen, hypercapnia, which is increased carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is a waste product from our body that we need to get rid of. Continuous inhalation can cause headaches, dizziness, lethargy, and brain fog. So you want the kids to wear masks for 6 to 7 hours a day, bringing in their own waste product, but then you want them to pay attention in school. It just doesn't make any sense. They're not going to be able to pay attention. Also, prolonged wear of the mask will cause suppression of their natural immune system. So if the kids do get exposed to something, they're more susceptible to getting really, really sick. It will cause psychological damage to our kids, bringing on anxiety and depression. Kids need to see faces, they need to see facial expressions, they need to be free and breathe fresh air. I also sent a video to the board, I hope you guys watched it. It was an interview with Tom Rentz. He's an attorney here in Ohio, and he stated that a school board cannot mandate students to wear masks. It's illegal. Also, in the American Disability Act of 1990, it states a public identity like a government building, a grocery store, a school building, anything that serves the public cannot force someone to wear something that would restrict their breathing, their speech, or affect their organs like their immune system. It's against the law. And wearing a mask will fall into that category. Mandates are not considered laws. I think the parents
Thank you,
decide.
Jane. Thank you. Next question, Jackie.
Good evening. I'll keep this short. First of all, I wanted to thank you for considering the masks for students, especially those who are not able to be vaccinated. And I know this came up last week, but there is a large body of parents who are concerned about not having a sixth grader's mask because they aren't able to be vaccinated yet. So if that could be part of the consideration, that would be really just a de-stressor for lots of parents who are worried about their students coming to school. And I just wanted to thank you all for your time and efforts. I know this has been highly politicized. This should not be a political thing. It should not be a divisional thing. Everyone should be able to be coming together on this and just looking out for the safety of our students. And so I just thank you for considering all of that.
Thank you, Jim. Next one from Jim Concord. Hello, Jim.
Hi, how you doing? I'm kind of an older person. I've had a few instances to go to Cleveland Clinic and interact with a lot of their doctors. Matter of fact, they've saved my life a couple of times. I go to my doctor's office, and there is not a sign up there that says, well, if you're 10 years old, you don't have to wear a mask, or if you're 80 years old, you got to wear a mask. It's a mask mandate. Everybody wears them. All the doctors wear them. The nurses wear them. Why can't we make this really simple and just give everybody a mask and hope like hell that everybody gets a vaccination? Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Next one is from Christine Skelly.
Hello, thank you so much for allowing me to speak. My name is Christine Skelly. My friends know me as Casey. The incredibly sad part of my preparation for speaking today is that I found myself mostly afraid of the social media abuse that I would probably take as punishment for speaking. The same social media bullying that we educate our children against. You know who you are. I am speaking to you today on behalf of my child, an 8th grader at your school. I am a nurse and have been in the medical field, specifically heart and vascular, for over 20 years. I'm speaking to you today after investing countless hours researching medical journals and endless sources of concrete data. I do not make these requests without careful consideration for the health and well-being of my family and yours. Recently, I have witnessed as some other school districts have made last-minute changes to their mask protocol, specifically the night before school starts. This is appalling to me. The parents and members of this community have voted you into your roles in order to support the decisions that we want for our children. I pray that this is not how our amazing school district will proceed. If this was ever the intention, we deserve to have been told in time to make different choices for our children. Why has the survey not gone out to ask what we, the parents, want for our children? Why does it not matter how we feel? I have seen many of you recently in parties, restaurants, social gatherings, grocery stores, not wearing masks or social distancing. These children have spent their entire summer having sleepovers, large indoor gatherings. They play contact sports, indoor and outdoor, without masks or social distancing. Our children are not the problem. Sending them to school with masks on does nothing but make you, the school board, feel better about complying with the CDC. It would be hypocritical to see all of you continuing your lives, going to parties, restaurants, and the grocery store while asking our children to mask up, rebreathing the very moist, germ-filled air that their bodies are trying to expel. Did you know that countless one-hour detentions were given to our children, my son included, for not having their masks fully above their noses, while the teachers sat at their desks with their masks off their faces taking a break? No one is even considering the fact that wearing masks is not benign. How about trying to learn a language you cannot see the mouth of the teacher speaking the words you're trying to learn? Thank you so much for letting me speak.
Thank you. Next question from BAI. How do I say it?
Bay, like Green Bay.
Oh, Bay.
Thanks.
Welcome, Bay.
I don't have a prepared statement, so we'll just see what I come up with. First off, there is no right to a contagion-free environment. So for all the people who think that you're obligated to make sure the children in our schools don't get contagions, that's ridiculousness. There's no right to a contagion-free environment. Then I'm left guessing, why does the school board think it's their responsibility to provide people who want a contagion-free environment? And you were kind enough, and I left it at the table, to send me, I emailed you asking, where are the norms that say what you guys' obligations are? And one of them is about protecting the rights of students. But now we've got conflicting rights. We've got a population of students who parents and mainstream media are telling them you have a right to a contagion-free environment and a mask will keep you safe. And then you have another population of students whose parents and friends are telling them, look at the data, look at the science. How many videos have we seen of someone exhaling, smoking a cigarette, and all the smoke comes out? All the cubic inches of air that you inhale have to get out. COVIDs aren't smart enough to say, I'm going to only go through those little holes and stick to the side of your mask. If you can exhale, the COVIDs can get out. So forget about whether masks help or not. And when you start quoting, the CDC says this, or Cleveland Clinic says that, or the data says this, or the science says this, enough of us have done our own research. And we're absolutely convinced that masks do nothing to stop the spread of respiratory viruses. So then it brings the question, what is going on? And let's get the elephant. The expression, there's an elephant in the living room. This has become politicized, it's become economic. There are forces out there who pay for the bills at Cleveland Clinic who are making a ton of money on having people take the vaccine. So I'm going to go back again to rights. It's a fundamental right to breathe and inhale and exhale freely. So if you think you have to give parents a contagion-free environment, just tell them, sorry man, that's not my job. If you want a contagion-free environment, keep your kid home all the time.
And the last one we'll be hearing from today is Grace Kennedy. Welcome, Grace.
I think I might pass everyone has said what I was going to say already.
Can I have your time?
Sorry, we can't do that, but all right, Grace.
Are you sure I can't?
Yeah, we've discussed it at our meetings and we haven't allowed it. But, okay, thank you, Grace. Let's hear, anything else for the good of the board? Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion on roll call, please?
Ms. Gephardt?
Yes.
Ms. Deep?
Yes.
Dr. Banton? Yes. Ms.